For today's little mini crafting session, I'm going to show you how to make this hand-stitched card. It uses very simple materials and it took me about 15 minutes to half an hour to make. So let's gather our materials and get started. So you'll have to excuse the mess of my table today, but I am in full-on crafting mode. And the idea that I want to show you today is actually one that I saw, I think it might have been on Pinterest or Instagram, and I want to experiment and try it out myself. I can't remember the original video, but it is making a stitched heart card. So let's get started. So I've got my card blank here, and I'm just going to cut my card a little bit smaller than this. Then I'm going to make a little heart template. So I have this actually for another product that I do. You'd want to try and find the middle. So I would probably just find the middle. So it's like 12.5. So it's 6.2, I think. 13, which would be 6.5. So here is the middle. I'm just doing with a very light pencil, and then just place your heart as close to the middle as possible. And you can kind of measure out. So it's 3.5, 4. So it needs to go up a little bit. 3.5, still 4. Ooh. There we go. So now it's closer to 4 and 4. And then on the side from the center, go from there. So it's 4.5. 4.5. That's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is very lightly draw in this heart template. Now, I'm actually going to use this. This is going to be my front, this is my back, so I don't worry too much about the lines. But then I'm going to get my hole punch. So you could use a needle. This is an awl, I think, from bookbinding. And I'm going to punch holes in it. And when I punch the holes, so here, and if you didn't have a template, you could print a heart off the internet. You could use maybe a heart from something else that you already have. I'm just going to make sure that that is actually even. Looks a little bit off. I think that needs to go up a bit. I'm just using my eye on this just to check I'm happy with it. I am now. So then you start punching holes. So I'm going to punch holes going around, and I'm just going to try and keep the spaces as even as possible. So for this, you would just need to use your eye, but if you're not sure, you could maybe find a template or something, or you could measure it if you wanted to. And again, this is more like a behind the scenes of me making the cards, how I would go about it. So there. I love to make cards myself. I love to hand make them. I actually recently got a Cricut, and definitely exploring ideas of how I can make intricate cards with it. I'm watching way too many videos on Instagram about and YouTube about Cricut making. So if you have any tips on Cricuts, please do send them my way. Ooh, that one's going to be a bit off. Gonna have an extra one there. Now, so that's my holes punched. I'm going to be going from this side. This is going to be my front. So I'm just going to, don't want the holes kind of punching from this side, so I'm just going to flatten them down. I'll be punching through anyway, so it won't matter, but basically I can still see the holes, but I just don't want to have the roughness. So I have all the holes there, and I have my red embroidery thread, which is the beginning, and I also need a needle, and you're going to need to cut a length of the embroidery thread, and it needs to be quite long. You'll need to do this several times, so just start with one and then thread your needle. Okay, so when I saw this, it had it sort of that it was going for crisscrossing around, so I'm just going to try it out and see. I might need to redo it because I don't really have a huge plan. I'm just going with it. So I think, let me see. I do the first one straight maybe. This is actually going to take a lot more thread than that, but we'll see. I'm going to go for this one first. And then I'm going to go into that one there. And if you think this might come through, put a little bit of tape on it. And then I'm going to come down into that one. So my plan is that it will crisscross. So go into this one and out through that one. And I'm going to keep going around. So into this one. Ooh, I'm going to start running out of thread. Down to that one. Pull it there. And I'm just going to keep going around. So get a big long piece of thread this time. And hopefully the only thing with really long thread is it can get a bit knotted. So you just got to be careful. Now, the last one I came through was that one. So I'm going to come up through this one. Like I say, I literally saw a very sped up video about this. And I'm just going from memory. So hopefully it works. Now this is very long. I'm being lazy because I don't want to have to rethread my needle. So you just got to be careful here that you don't end up getting a tangle or like that, pulling it all the way through. So let me see. Through here like this, right? So just be careful. Just pull it slowly for the first bit. Here, I can use a little bit of tape. Pull it through and then I'll just pop a bit of tape there. Then I go into the opposite one over here. Pull it down like this. And then these here, I just kind of move them over. I might do that with my ruler in a minute. And then go into this one. And we will continue on and we will see what happens and what it looks like in the end. So the main thing is that I am working in an anti-clockwise manner. So when I put it in to one hole, I'm going into the one on the opposite side, and you just keep working your way around. And once you get into the rhythm of it, it's actually quite simple. Other couple of tips would be to use the tape to hold the embroidery thread on the back and to make sure that you don't cut too long lengths because it'll get caught on the corners. So here I've still got one more hole here, so I'll just go into the center one because it's the next one along. And then bring it back down here. Now, and then I'm going to cut this off here. Pull this up. So I'm just going to trim any of the bits of embroidery thread that are too long on the back. I'm going to be gluing over this, but I just want it nice and tidy. Now, so there's the heart card. Pretty happy with that. Seems a little bulky in here, so I'd probably experiment with different patterns maybe. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And then I'm going to stick it down to this card here. So for something like this, what I would probably recommend doing is stick something on the back here to secure it all in place. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trap all of these here so I have a flat piece. If I had PVA glue, I'd probably use PVA glue. I don't, so I am just going to use this glue, and I need to go out this far. I'll just cut this off afterwards. I got this purple glue to use when I was doing what was it, St. Bridget's Crosses workshops, because it was really easy to see where you had glued and where you hadn't. I'm just going to put some paper down here. don't stick the wrong side down. So there we go, line it up. Now it's a bit purpley. So I'm going to squish it from the middle out. And some pieces there are a bit all over the place. So this would be a cool card for Valentine's Day or for anniversary cards, wedding cards, any occasion where love is involved, it would work well. Chop that. See there, it's still coming apart. So I think what I need to do is hold it down, maybe put it under something heavy, and then come back to finish it off. So why don't I just cut this, trim it nice and nicely. And then, oh, I know what I could maybe use with this work. See that? There we go. Just needs to be pressed down. Press it down. Yeah. So that seems to press down pretty well. And then I'm going to glue it down to this. So you can do, I don't have enough card, but you could do things like you could put a little border, you know, around the edge. If you had a big piece of red card, you could cut this into a heart shape if you wanted to. You could trim the corners. You could use a different color card for the background. They say I like really simple card designs. Don't like to get too fussy. So I am just going to leave it as is, and I'm going to put glue in the back here. So let me see. Glue on the back. Whoop. And press this down, get as even as possible, top and the bottom and the sides, and then press over it. And might just, again, you could put this between heavy weight, and you could put a weight over it or something like that. I would just put maybe a bit of baking paper, because if you get any glue, you don't want it sticking to it. The purple glue, it should dry clear as well, so don't worry if you have got a colored glue stick. Press it down, and there you have an embroidered love heart card. I hope you find this useful. Maybe it's inspired you for your next gift that you need to give. And in terms of materials, it's very simple. You could buy card blanks. You could just use like brown card to do this into, and all you really need is like a heart template, a needle, something to punch the holes with, and some red embroidery thread, which I picked up in my local craft shop, and it was about €1.50, I think. Yeah, there you go.